Why do you look the way you do? Are your eyes different than your siblings' eyes? Are your ears attached and your brother's ears separated? Those are all concepts known as heredity. Heredity is the study of the passing on of characteristics from one generation to the next, or most commonly known as parents passing on their traits to the offspring. Heredity involves the study of genetics. Although you have noticed that resemblances were inherited from generation to generation, an explanation can be obtained by studying genetics. Genetics is the branch of biology that studies heredity. People who study heredity or genetics are known as geneticists. The father of genetics was Gregor Mendel. Gregor Mendel was an Austrian monk who questioned why offspring resemble their parents. In 1843, he entered the monastery and began his search to answer that question. As the picture suggests, Mendel's most known experiment included pea plants, which are plants that reproduce sexually. We will continue using Mendel's experiment as a forefront for a discussion about heredity. Sexually reproducing species need two sex cells or gametes to reproduce. The pea plant possesses both male and female sex cells within the same flower. The male gamete is in the pollen grain and the female gamete is in the ovule. In humans and animals like us that are sexually reproducing as well, our sex organs go through meiosis or cell division. This type of cell division produces gametes or sex cells containing half the number of chromosomes as a parent's body cell. Meiosis occurs in specialized body cells that produce gametes. We have gametes because we produce sexually. In our species, the male have sperm and female have eggs. When both egg and sperm meet and the sperm fertilizes the egg, this is known as fertilization. In this slide, we can see how a sperm cell or male gamete travels up the fallopian tube. Once the female gamete or egg is fertilized, a series of chemical reactions occur and turn the fertilized species into a zygote. The zygote continues reproducing asexually through mitosis. In our discussion about genetics, we concluded that it was the study of heredity, and under that umbrella we have the study of traits, which are known as inherited characteristics. So in this picture, who are these four people? There is the mother, there is the father, and the twin sisters. But how can they possibly be twins looking so different? Well, we can deduce that they are not identical, thus they were harbored by two different sperm and two different eggs, or two separate gametes from each parent carrying different traits. We can say that for the girl on the left, the dark hair, dark skin, and dark eyes were a dominant trait from both parents, but the little girl on the right possesses recessive traits which must have come from both parents, such as in the case with the following slide. This square is known as a Punnett square. A Punnett square is a short way of finding the expected proportions of possible genotypes in the offspring of a cross. Let's make believe that the big P stands for brown eyes and the little p stands for blue eyes, although in real life they are big B, little b. The big P is the dominant or expressed trait, and the recessive trait is the little p, or the trait that disappears. If both parents have a genotype or gene combination of big P and little p, we can cross them and find that the big P dominates 3 out of the 4 times, while we see that a fourth square contains 2 little p's. So for an offspring to be brown-eyed in this case, there is a 3/4 or 75% chance that it can come out that way, while a blue-eyed percentage is 25 or 1/4% chance. Thus, it is possible that if both parents in the previous picture had a big P, little p genotype, the girl on the right could most certainly be their child. The way an organism looks or behaves is known as a phenotype. The phenotype of the girl is blue-eyed or brown-eyed, but although the brown-eyed girl has a brown-eyed phenotype, her genotype is still 2 different combinations of big P, little p. So her children could still have blue eyes. That is genetics. Such is the example with fruit flies. The genotype on the left is the way the genes are organized within the chromosomes. But on the right, we see the phenotype, which is the way the fruit fly looks like. So the genotype codes for the phenotype, but it is the dominant trait or the trait that is seen that is what is the phenotype, or the phenotypical characteristic of the organism. Genes are a segment of DNA located on the chromosomes. Chromosomes are cell structures that contain genetic material and are located in the nucleus, or the control center of the cell. Here we can see a more defined picture of the nucleus. Ultimately, we have learned that we are products of sexual reproduction, which is the union of two gametes or sex cells. The male gamete is the sperm and the female gamete is known as the egg. These two sex cells carry genetic material which make up our genotype of the new offspring. Once this genotype is established, the genotype is expressed as a phenotype, or how the organism looks. These traits can be either dominant or recessive and can be passed on for various generations, which is known as heredity. Ultimately, genetics affects the entire world because we are all different and unique with our own characteristics.